So living here in Vilnius, Lithuania, one somewhat trivial thing that has really bugged me is the fact that bus drivers here mostly don't open their front doors. Without considering any reasons why, it would seem rather inefficient. At the busiest times, you have lots of people getting on and off the one or two back doors, and the third door up at the front goes unused. So why don't people use the front doors of buses here? Well, after contacting the bus company and doing some people watching, I think I have my answers. Let's take a look right after the introduction. If you're looking for a tech job in Vilnius, check out today's sponsor, Sigli. There's more info at the end of this video. Okay, so I really need to say a few things before getting into the finer details. Number one, yes, this is a relatively inconsequential and not too serious subject. I am very well aware of this, and yet it is still fascinating to me from both a sociological and efficiency perspective. And number two, this is not a targeted attack on the bus drivers of Vilnius. I'll say it now, and I'll say it later on in the video. They often have difficult jobs and are not paid as much as they deserve. And yet, even from my own recent experiences with this door topic, it's clear that some drivers are just better than others. With those points out of the way, I think I should give you my own list of reasons why the front door should be used. First, as I said earlier, offloading and boarding is faster. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see this. As you can see from the videos, at busy times a lot of people have to get off, and those boarding need to, or at least should, wait for this to happen. And so, using the front door just speeds things up, letting more people off or on, and this could help to ensure that drivers stay on schedule rather than being held up at a stop because of slow unloading and loading. Or during those days of intense rain, people can get covered just a little bit faster. Secondly, since the front door is closed, the front area of the bus sometimes doesn't get utilized. I think all of us who use public transit have seen this happen. People get on the bus in the middle, and then passengers who are already on board, well, they don't move further into the empty space as much as they should. And then this causes the areas around the doors to be extra full and cramped. There are so many times I've gotten on at the back or middle door, and I've squeezed my way up to the front just to find a whole bunch of empty space and lots of room to stand. Thirdly, people who are running towards the front of the bus don't need to keep running to the back doors. They can just board at the closest door. It saves someone a bit of energy and saves both the driver and the passenger some time. So basically, that's why I think it would be very helpful to use that front door. But okay, maybe there are some reasons why bus drivers in Vilnius don't do this. After watching bus drivers at work, I see that a lot of their attention is focused on safely opening and closing those back doors. Maybe keeping the front door closed gives them one less thing to focus on so that they can pay more attention to what's going on at the back. Another reason could be that drivers want to try and preserve heat or air conditioning on the bus, and they want to limit how much warm or cold air gets out. And if no one wants to enter that front door, why make themselves colder for no reason, right? I doubt this is the case, but hey, I'm really trying to empathize with these guys. A popular theory was that this practice was a leftover policy from the COVID-19 pandemic. As people who had increased exposure to many members of the public, drivers weren't selling paper tickets because the bus company wanted to protect their employees by giving them a little extra space and reduced contact. I do remember those times and seeing the front section of the bus taped off during the pandemic with a note saying that paper tickets were not being sold. So perhaps the bus drivers just got used to this. I have a third theory/reason which is kind of connected, and I think this is the actual reason, but I'm gonna save that one for the end. And so because I see the practice of not using the front door happening over and over and over again, I just had to ask the bus company, Vilnius Viešasis Transportas, if there was some kind of company policy. Were drivers just following orders and company rules? I had to find out for myself. Well, here is the official answer from the company's spokesperson. Each driver, upon starting work at our company, participates in training, one of the parts of which is dedicated to passenger service, and their education is ongoing. Drivers are obliged to follow the rules for the carriage of passengers and luggage, which stipulates that passengers must be boarded through all doors, including the front ones. Disembarking through the front door is also defined in the aforementioned rules. Disabled people, passengers with small children, pregnant women, and elderly passengers have the right to disembark through the front door of the vehicle if necessary. It is also provided that passengers may be disembarked through the front door when there are too many passengers in the vehicle. Amazing. First off, I really have to thank VVT for responding to my inquiry. I know people love to hate on them, but I really do appreciate the effort the spokesperson, Gintare, took to answer my question. But yeah, we have an official answer. All good, right? Well, armed with this knowledge, I had to put it to the test. If I tried boarding through the front door, Would I ever be refused? On a few attempts, I had to stand there and get the driver's attention, and it was awkward, and yeah, they really didn't seem to want to open the door. One driver opened the front door for me and then opened his compartment door. I don't know why though, but it was really funny to have it on camera. Some said that he was about to tell me off, but then stopped after realizing I was a foreigner, and then someone else suggested that he thought it was time to switch drivers, and then others joked that he just wanted a hug. What's your best guess? I did have one clearly positive experience. I decided to approach the bus from the front, as if I were rushing to catch it. This bus driver saw me and opened the front door before I got there. What a legend. VVT, if you're watching this, the guy driving the number 52 bus on December 11th at about 4:22 p.m. at Greenbridge heading north, well, he's a fantastic driver. The next two stops, this same driver opened the front door for passengers without anyone needing to ask. But he is the exception. Other times I've seen old ladies run towards the bus from the front, and many bus drivers keep that door closed, forcing these passengers to continue rushing towards that middle door. I do have to say that I've gone through the front door many times in the past, assuming that it was acceptable. And yeah, every time, drivers open it, even if it takes a few seconds for them to realize that I'm there. Sometimes you have to knock on the door and get their attention because they just don't expect it. After launching a more public discussion about this topic on social media, several people messaged me privately to tell me that they've been refused access to the front door after making an attempt. I asked these people to try again and film it so that I at least have something to show, but I guess no one got around to it. Getting out from the front, well, I try not to do too often, but if I'm standing in that area and I would otherwise have to get through a bunch of people, then I do attempt to exit through the front. Again, drivers don't always expect this, and you do need to get their attention, but thankfully, I've never been refused. So, are you ready for my explanation about this whole thing? Here it is. I think that drivers got quite used to not opening that front door during COVID. Many restrictions lasted like 2 years, right? That's a long time to get used to doing something. I've noticed that doors are like keys on a keyboard, so each door has its own button, and so maybe their muscle memory has gotten them quite accustomed to holding down 2 fingers instead of 3. Right, okay, I did kind of say that already, but here's the thing. I think that after 2 years of COVID, passengers have also gotten used to not using that front door. And when passengers don't stand in front of that door with an expectation to board, the drivers rightfully are thinking, then what is the point of opening it in the first place? It would only serve to let out heat on a cold winter night. That's my leading theory. Passengers don't do it, so drivers don't do it. Drivers don't do it, passengers don't do it, and on and on. And it's a self-reinforcing cycle. Doing some research about Vilnius's bus system history, I learned that between July 2010 and summer 2015, residents of Vilnius and guests of the city had to board public transit through the first door only. Funny how things have turned out, right? Apparently, it was only when Artūras Zuokas returned to the post of mayor that this procedure was cancelled. But why was that even the case? Well, I believe it was a similar style to many other cities. Boarding only through the front door, the driver can ensure that people pay their bus fare and buy a ticket. In a somewhat separate occurrence that I found in an old article, a bus company spokesperson said, in the summer of 2017, the rule of boarding passengers through the front door was introduced at some public transport stops. Before introducing it, we were interested in and analyzed which stops are most often met with disorderly persons, the highest social risk persons, and after evaluating the target travel directions of these persons, the highest concentration on the routes, and the current passenger flows at the stops, we compiled a list of 47 problematic stops. And so it was at that time that the front door only rule was implemented at certain stops. The reason was to ensure that it was not possible for people who were intoxicated or emitted a pungent odor, or other persons who violate the valid rules, to get on. The other piece of news that I found took place in June 2023. As reported by Made in Vilnius, a Vilnius resident contacted Vilnius Public Transport in a Facebook group asking why drivers still do not open the front doors for public transport passengers. The first person to comment was not a company representative, but an employee who replied, "Take a taxi there. They open all the doors, even the trunk." The article said that the bus company didn't even support the customer and did not even provide an answer to his question. On the contrary, the company defended the driver and partially agreed with his statement, saying, "Of course, employees must communicate politely and respectfully with passengers, and it is also recommended to represent the workplace on social networks without offending others. We apologize for the word jerk." But the driver is right about the other part. The taxi opens all doors and even the trunk, especially when you're traveling with a suitcase. We wish everyone more positivity and nice communication. Days later, numerous online newspapers published a similar message to one another. The coronavirus is over, use the front doors. And so based on the sequence of events, I suppose the bus company did actually try to get the message out there in 2023, probably after that negative Facebook interaction made the news. Unfortunately, I didn't see that article until starting research on this topic, and these days, in 2024-2025, the front door is simply not being used 95% of the time. So I don't feel too bad for pestering VVT with my question. For those who are refused entry via the front door, I had suggested to some that they could report it to VVT. No, not as a way to get drivers in trouble, but as a way for the company to know the situation. Besides, snitching on drivers would be pointless since there is a driver shortage going on, and I think they have incredibly secure jobs these days. But look, at the end of the day, bus drivers have a hard job and are generally paid quite poorly for this work. They have to deal with lousy traffic, lousy passengers, lousy weather conditions, all while trying to maintain a schedule. Believe me, I do feel for them. But considering that the front door was opened before the pandemic and how easy it is to do, why such fierce resistance to it now, right? But again, this video is not an attack against the bus drivers. I do have to say again, some are nicer than others. Anyways, if you made it this far in the video, well, just remember you are officially allowed to use that front door for boarding. And if we all try to use the front door more often, hopefully drivers will get into the habit of opening them before we run past and try to board through that open middle door. So if there's another somewhat inconsequential topic you want me to do a super in-depth video about, let me know in the comment section. I was thinking maybe like sidewalk etiquette or something. What do you think? But anyways, this video was sponsored by Sigly, who is on the hunt for talented IT and marketing experts to join their team, especially here in Lithuania. Sigly is a digital development services company with its office located in Vilnius. They're on the hunt for more people to work in sales and project management, and if you know another European language, that's even better. Check out sigly.com to learn more about their career opportunities. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Ще теж не важливо.